So before I even get into this video, I'll say that a lot more than this goes into it. Of course, the years of work, plus probably 1,000 more little details that I don't even mention here. But I wanted to put Steph's shooting ability in a different light. There are enough videos to talk about the basics of his form and all that, but I'm going to talk about the stuff that we don't usually talk about. And these are all things that you can apply to your game through purposeful practice. So let's take a look at it under the microscope. First, we'll start with his base. It's not always perfect balance-wise, but that's what makes it so impressive. That he's always able to find that stability to get a comfortable shot off. One of the keys to getting stable here is making sure that first foot is properly placed. When we put that on the ground in the perfect spot, it makes it so easy for that second foot to come right in and get up into the shot. It's almost like a kickstand on a bike. He's placing it outside of his center of mass, so he can be stable on it and comfortable kind of leaning into it. And what this does is gives him the ability to start that upward motion of his shot before 2 feet are even on the ground. And this is part of what helps him get into shots so quickly. Like here, since he's stable and he used that first foot to balance so well, that ball is already going up. It's hard to do this with a shaky and unstable base. Same thing moving backwards. Look how intentional he is to get that back foot down so that second foot can just come in easily. Another technique is something I call anticipatory deceleration, which is basically a really complex way to say he starts slowing down earlier rather than later, and most times well before he even gets the ball. He knows he's going to have to slow down, so he starts this process early. Like here, if he waits to slow down till after he comes off of this screen, it's too late and he's running into that defender. This sounds obvious, but a lot of younger and inexperienced players don't start slowing down early enough. You can say the same thing about his rotation towards the bucket. He makes it happen early so that he doesn't have to do it after or right as he's catching the ball. He's already pretty damn rotated to the bucket before he catches it. And then many times he'll finish off that rotation in air in a controlled fashion. Also notice how when he moves backwards into a shot, he's not leaning backwards and allowing that momentum to continue in that direction. He's pretty much leaning forward into it to counter that backwards momentum, as you can see with this forward torso lean and shin angle. The result, pretty controlled straight up and down jump without fading unnecessarily. Lastly, he can shoot with pretty much any footwork and base, so hopping multi-directionally into it. Small choppy steps. Outside inside footwork. Pretty much falling to the ground, and I'll talk a little bit about how he does this later in the video. Now let's talk about how well he gets the ball into his shot pocket both off the catch and off the dribble. No matter where he receives the pass, he's able to get it centered and up into his shot. Even off of a pass that's shoulder height and outside of his frame. Same thing goes for off the dribble shots. Steph gets the ball from the ground into the shot and up into the air quicker than anyone. And this is primarily a product of his ball control. Watch how even if he loses the ball a little bit, there's really no slowing down when he's picking that ball up off the floor. Again, even in really weird situations like this. And this is a skill we can all work on. The next two I'll cover quickly because they're two of the 4 keys that I just dropped a video about. The number one is how well he synchronizes his body and the ball. It's simple. When the ball drops, his body drops, and when the ball path starts coming up, his body starts extending into that shot. It's everything down at once, everything up at once. And this is why his shot looks so fluid and quick most times. And then next is his release. Especially as he gets deeper, he really releases it high. This creates sufficient arc, which helps that ball go in the bucket and helps him get these shots off over taller defenders. And then lastly, and maybe most importantly at this point, a lot of players are fantastic shooters, but they don't get open enough to show it. What does shooting do at the end of the day if you can't get these shots off? Rightfully so, we typically see the crazy shots that he takes and makes, but sometimes he really makes his money off his simplicity. Getting into an open space after an offensive rebound. Setting screens to get himself open. passing and then relocating to find an open space. Plus, he's always scanning the floor, looking for open pockets of space to make that pass to him more accessible.
Toscano Anderson underneath. Osman defends, back to Green. It's baseball one over to Bazemore, now to Curry.
And I think the most important lesson we can learn from Steph shooting comes from his ability to make seemingly any type of jumper. We hear a lot about repetition, getting the same shot up over and over again. And while we do need that, we need more variability in our training, because in games, no two shots are alike. So sometimes practice shots where you're falling down, where you slightly fade, where you jump forward a bit. This is what's really going to transfer to games and develop the ability for you to adapt. Because many of these shots that Steph makes, I doubt he's practiced that exact shot thousands of times. But what I'm sure he doesn't do is only practice that picture perfect, straight up and down stationary shot. So thank you guys for tuning in. Make sure to follow me on Instagram at ByAnyMeansBasketball for a lot more like this. Stay tuned.